So we all know rage games. We slam the desk in frustration, throw our controllers at the wall, or cry in celebration. Titles like Getting Over It, Jump King, and even old ones like Unfair Mario enrage us with unholy emotions. But after all the missed jumps, failed swings, and lost brain cells, we find ourselves immediately coming back to the game with a likeness to keep going. So why, even after all the anger and mixed emotions, do we like rage games? Alright, so first, what makes a video game a rage game? Well, typically, rage games are presented with an unfair balance of challenge. Most games will have challenges, but balance it out with things like story and gameplay. The sole purpose of a rage game is to present the player with one main challenge, with no balance of story or anything of that nature. The challenge is made in a way where the difficulty is always there. There's no story breaks or moments of relief, you're always on edge with the challenge of the game. The reason why we like these types of games can actually be split into two main categories, where the surface level is the main and more obvious reason why we like them, while the deeper level is the psychological side of why we continue to play them despite all their challenges. Alright, so an obvious point is the challenge. The challenge of these games are essentially their purpose, which is to test people to their limits. Imagine if the game was easy, there wouldn't be shit to do, and you would literally just speed through it. It would just defeat the purpose of the game. This is initially why we are intrigued in these games. We want a hard task that is satisfying to complete, and actually feels like we've accomplished something once we finish it. But if you've ever played one of these games, you know once you start it, it gets kinda annoying. One thing that comes with any challenge is failure. We are bound to fail while playing these games, but although failure can seem like such a negative thing while playing, it's actually one of the basic reasons we continue to play and enjoy these games. You see, as we fail, we are building our skills and making ourselves smarter at the game. If you went down the wrong path or jumped at the wrong time, you learn what not to do the next time you come across that path. As we progress through the games because of the skill growth from failure, we can see how far we've come, and this is what makes us like the game. We see these games as a difficult failure-inducing task, but as we build our skills in the game and actually start completing it, our brains are like, wow, this initially looked very hard, but I'm actually starting to accomplish something. And this is how challenge and failure makes our brains like rage games. We feel the satisfaction of accomplishing something we initially thought was literally impossible. The reward in rage games is also another reason that ties directly into challenge. Reward is the motivation the game presents you. You either spend the whole game trying to get from A to B or getting a new high score. By outlining a reward before we even play, the game creates a working goal in our head. But how does the reward mean that we're going to like rage games? Well, in rage games, the reward is always something hard and challenging to get. It's the whole point of a rage game. So as we play and experience the difficulties in the game, we hold this reward even higher in our heads because we see how challenging it is. And what this means is that when we finally complete the game, we get this massive hit of relief and dopamine because we have finally reached the goal or reward we held so high within our head. This is another reason why we like rage games, because it creates a challenging reward for us. And when we get to our reward, it's almost like we can brag to ourselves that we did this insanely hard challenge that builds up in our heads over the course of the game, just because of how difficult it is. Essentially, the main psychological reason why we like these games and persist in playing them is something called intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is when you're motivated with no promise of an external reward, but an internal reward. For example, in a football match, if one player is just playing because they enjoy it and want exercise, they're intrinsically motivated. If another player is just playing because they want to win and get a trophy, they're motivated by an external reward, and that is called extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation in rage games can come in different ways, like a slightly intrinsic game would be Jump King or Pogo Stuck, where you're intrinsically motivated, but there is a defined outcome, like an ending or the top of a mountain. A completely intrinsic game would be something like Flappy Bird, where there is no defined ending on the surface. You're motivated on your own terms to get something like a high score. I already mentioned this before, but as we fail, we grow our skills in the game and become smarter. So although we fail, we gain something and actually still enjoy the game. And this creates a level of persistence and self-determination in the player because we can see that we are accomplishing this difficult game despite all our failures. It's this determination and persistence from failure that keeps us in the game. Yet there is no external reward. There is no promise of money or trophies at the end of these games. We get internal rewards, such as determination, skill building, and persistence as we play. This is how we are intrinsically motivated to play these games, despite the failure and challenge. We like rage games because we have a need for skill growth, and a quote from Dr. Scott Rigby shows this perfectly. He states, decades of research on what energizes us intrinsically show repeatedly that we have a basic need to grow our abilities, to integrate new experiences, learning and improving as we go along. And this need is satisfied by rage games, and is why we like them. We are intrinsically motivated by the growth of our abilities along the way. The growth and skill building you gain from failure in rage games grows a person's self-determination where they feel like they're achieving more than just a level in a video game, because you gain as much self-determination from that as a real-world thing, just like working a job or learning something at school. So, why do we like rage games? On the surface, we can see challenge as a main motivator for us to play these games, because as we fail, we grow our skills at the game, which in return allows us to get better and improve. And as humans, we like this improvement because it's almost a basic need for us. This is obvious stuff that we can see from just observing the game ourselves. But if we dig deeper, we can see the psychological reason why we enjoy and are motivated to continue playing rage games, despite their challenge and difficulty. In these games, we are intrinsically motivated by the growth of our skills, where our brain feels as if we're accomplishing something more than just a level in a game. And as mentioned before, this fulfills the thirst we have as humans for growing our abilities and improvement. And this is why we like rage games. Alright, just as this video is ending, I wanted to mention a few things. So first is a big thanks to Unpoppable Balloons, who helped with the script structure and writing, and this video literally would have not been possible without them. So go check them out, there's a link in the description. And finally, all of the sources I used for this video are available in the description. So yeah, that is all, and thank you for watching.